Dave Palumbo with RxMuscle.com. I'm standing here with Chris, the technician Aceto. We're at the Classic Brazil 2015, and Chris, it's pandemonium here in the back. Every guru in the world is here. Every press guy in the world is here, and Big Ramy has just won the Arnold Classic Brazil. In your estimation, was that the correct decision?
Yeah, you know, it was probably the correct decision. He came in with oodles of muscle. As you know, he was 359 in the offseason. I sent you my pictures.
Right.
And, you know, I think he came down here to 310 or so.
One of the biggest, he might be the biggest bodybuilder of all time.
He's definitely the biggest of all time. What I think puts the show away for him is the crunch shot, the most muscular. And really, you know, you could argue the back lat spread as well, because there's so much width to it. Not the back double, not the side shots, not the deep, not the...
What you haven't said is that Ramy was probably at 90% of his best. He certainly wasn't the best Ramy that he could be, no. And yet he still won this show against good guys. I mean, Cedric McMillan was the best he's been.
Yeah, no, he was the best he's been, and Ramy size, you know, was awarded, you know, the bodybuilding.
What does that say about this guy? I mean, this guy, you know, with the right conditioning, is Mr. Olympia.
Unconditioned.
Is this the way we saw Ramy here tonight? Is this better than his New York Pro wins?
He was in more condition. He was in better condition his first New York Pro. Maybe a second as well. What was different here is that he probably had 10 pounds of muscle more.
He's bigger, right?
Yeah, he's bigger than he had in the previous two New York Pro wins.
Is there any limit to this guy's potential? I mean, he just keeps improving, and the muscle seems to be going into the right places too. Unlike some of these other guys who get big and their waist gets bigger, he just gets more round.
Yeah, no, he's extremely round. That's his calling card. That's what won him the show tonight, and that's what makes him, you know, a freak and so impressive.
Is Ramy's issue with getting in condition that maybe his body just doesn't want to do it? You know, will he look worse if he gets in shape? You know, he's only been training for 5 years. He said on the stage when Arnold was interviewing him, this is his 5th year competing. I mean, if you think about the amount of muscle he's got in 5 years of training, it's unfathomable, because no one can accomplish what he did, probably in a lifetime. Is there something we're dealing with as far as muscle maturity possibly here?
No, I don't think so. You know, I mean, the guy he was working with, none of his guys were in condition tonight, actually.
You're talking about George Farah.
I mean, Ramy was definitely gnarly, big, round, and like separated, but I don't think anyone would say he's, wow, really good condition, let alone great condition. That said, you'll still find the majority of people here today say he looked fabulous, and that fabulous is based on what we're talking about, the 310 pounds, the size, the small waist.
You know, when you get rewarded for winning shows not at your best, which pretty much every one of his wins has been, the 2 New York Pros and obviously here at Arnold Brazil, does that make you kind of believe in your head, maybe I don't need to be in the best shape?
Well, you know.
How does he do in the Olympia lineup looking like he did tonight?
He will be in the top. He will struggle, surprisingly. You will see that he will struggle in this type of condition, just because the only like truly super conditioned guys were Cedric and Juan Morel. They both could, quote, use more muscle. They both have great structures, but they're not Phil Heath either.
Yeah, let's talk about Cedric McMillan. Obviously, you work with him. The best shape we've seen. They complained at the Arnold Classic in the United States that Cedric was not lean enough. You went back to the drawing board with him, despite the fact that Cedric listens to 50% of what you say. He's in great condition tonight. Obviously, you know, you can see there is maybe some gaps in that huge frame of his. We'd like to see more muscle on it. But in any other show, Cedric cleans house.
Yeah, no, this was a great look for him. It was great condition. He was peeled in certain body parts, glutes, hams.
Never had that before.
His back, double bicep. Yeah, I had him winning shots against Ramy for sure, and I think a lot of people had him winning shots, but that doesn't win the show. And it goes back to the overall overwhelming thickness that Ramy brought that just makes it extremely difficult for people to get by him.
Does Ramy have maybe the best back we've ever seen in bodybuilding as far as size and shape and detail?
On the back lat spread, it's the best the best we've seen.
I mean, he blows Coleman away from behind.
Yeah. No, his back lat spread is absolutely outrageous. I mean, he didn't have one line in his glutes and hams.
No,
really.
nothing.
It didn't really matter because when he, spread out the back, it looked like his head went back to Damascus or Kuwait. Excuse me. Just like a turtle shell,
right.
in all the best ways with the big V taper. So, he's got a power physique. We haven't seen a power physique in the IFBB in a long time.
No.
There's no power physiques coming through the NPC, zero, none. So that makes, his competition at the Olympia right back to who he's been losing to, which is Dexter, Kai, Roden.
And he loses to them on conditioning because you know what? No one's beaten this guy for size and shape.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, Phil Heath cannot stand next to Big Ramy if Big Ramy's in shape, but can he find the right formula? Obviously, we knew he was working with you a little bit. Somehow, politically, he wound up not working with you.
6 months, isn't a little bit, but go ahead.
Yes, and now obviously he's with the other true guru.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to see how he can, work with him for the Olympia. Let's talk about third place, Juan Morel, who I just spoke to a few minutes ago. I felt his legs were a little flatter than New York.
They were.
He disagreed with me, but I think that he could have done well in this lineup had he looked like he did in New York.
His New York shape, his combination of roundness, fullness, and separation was really impressive. Like I said, when we did the radio show.
Would he have given Cedric a run for his money?
Yep. That was his all-time best. He looked very good here. He looked very good here. He just ran up against a taller, rounder version of him, which is Cedric, and he also ran up against, of course, Rami. But he looked excellent. He's improved so much in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I think if he can regroup.
Would you recommend he skip the Olympia this year?
I when I said regroup, I think he should just give his body a rest and then just
do
push
Arnold
hard.
Again, yeah.
Well, no, I'd say push hard for the Olympia because I think he can get a strong look. If he brings the New York Pro look, which is a little bit rounder look, and the same level of condition he had here, he's going to be in an important call out somewhere.
It might not a first call out.
Yeah, it might be the first 6, or they do 7, or it could be they call 3 and then 4, 5, 6, 7. He could be in that slot.
Let's talk about Victor Martinez, who's a little upset with me because of some video that I put up that everyone, is raging about. Blackman's all upset about it. That's what the problem is. So, Steve, if you're listening, I'm sorry I put up the Victor Martinez interview, despite the fact that I was told that he wasn't under contract with you anymore. Anyway, let's talk about Victor. There's so much controversy and so many people debating who's actually working with Victor. George says it's him. Some other guy is emailing me saying it's him.
If it was George, he was flat as a pancake.
Was Victor worse or better than New York?
He was flat in New York and flatter here. So what the attempt was, the attempt. I know what went. Here's exactly what it went down. Juan was too round for him and too full in New York, and so the attempt was made to peel him down, to like give the 3D look to the crazy tie-ins that Victor had, and it didn't work. He was just flatter. I mean, there was no contention for him to beat Juan this week,
right.
Where in New York at least there was some type of, there was...
Was there not enough time for him to lose the body fat that he needed? I mean, or did he lose it and he just came in too flat?
I think he was just, what crushed him here was he was flat. That's how he ended up flat, I don't even think matters.
Right.
What happened is, he just didn't have the roundness that he needed to battle Juan or to battle Cedric.
Guys, yeah. Let's talk about fourth place, or I should say fifth place, Brandon Curry. I love Brandon Curry's physique. So, I mean, the bottom line with Brandon Curry is he's got to find a formula that works for him because the guy's got all the genetic tools to be winning shows, and we don't see this guy winning shows. It's got to be frustrating for him, too.
Clock is ticking, I mean, I mean, how many times are you going to come into shows where we have to do the same wrap-up and say, fifth place, wiggled in was Brandon Curry because of his shape and structure. Yeah. It's only going to carry you so far. If this guy, people up the ass of Flex Lewis, what if he had Flex Lewis's, just detail? I mean, he'd be, right? I mean, he's like a wow factor like Flex has. So
I hate to see guys with so much
that's what I
potential.
mean. That's why you hear my frustration. I say,
I feel frustrated about Big Ramy not coming in shape because I know this guy could win. You said it, that this guy would win the Olympia this year had you continued working with him, just because you knew his conditioning would be perfect. I mean, what's the odds of him coming into the Olympia now in his best shape? If you had to be a betting man,
I would bet against him.
You would?
Yeah, because I mean,
because he's got the wrong advice. You think?
Well, put it this way. I have pictures of him at the beginning of March and with him in March, 359, pretty damn good shape. He only looks like he's holding less water here, not like leaner.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But yet he's small. He's a lot smaller than 259 here.
Yeah, 359.
359. Excuse
me. No, he was probably about 306 probably on stage at the end of the day, and that's still against. This lineup, this lineup is not the Phil Heath lineup.
We might look back at this show 5 years from now when Ramy has won 3 Olympias already and joke about this. I mean, this guy obviously has all the tools in his tool chest to easily win the Olympia multiple times for maybe 10 years if he can find the formula that works.
Yeah, no, he absolutely has the tools to be number one.
Let's talk about the fitness division for a minute because, Bethany Cisternino wins last year. She comes back this year, defends the title, arguably a better routine, a better look to her. I mean, this seems to be her show she owns.
She looked like the winner last year. She looked like the winner this year. She's a hard worker. She's dedicated. She's a hard worker outside the gym. It's a feel-good night for somebody like her. And she does what she has to do with her physique, which maxes it out to win.
Technically, in the routine round, Chris, she's very good technically. I still don't feel like she connects with the audience as far as the emotionality of the routine, like an Oksana Grishina would, or a Tangi Johnson would. I felt Tangi's routine was better. Regina Da Silva, who finished second, also has just an amazing high energy, pump up routine that you want to jump up there and do it with her.
Well, I don't really want to jump up and do it with her. I'd like to jump up and be Ramy, but I think Bethany, these important wins last year, this year, I think it's enough to probably sustain her, give her the I don't know if it's confidence, oomph, arrogance almost of I can just do a routine.
To just see her let her loose.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just narcissistic.
Too controlled. It's too controlled for
just
me.
a narcissistic out there. I've won shows. I'm extremely good. I'm hard to beat. Here's a routine that's going to blow your socks off.
I mean, you saw Regina Da Silva. She comes out dressed in the Brazilian colors.
Yeah,
I mean, people went crazy.
Yeah, of course.
She just knew how to get into the emotionality of the people. And then you see Tangi Johnson come out, and Tangi just performs. It's like, I think her routine was underrated tonight. I really thought it was one of the best, actually, and very original at that.
No, I think it was one of the best for sure, and it is original, and there's something to be said for originality because you can't keep coming to all these shows year after year with something that looks like it's new because, I mean, how many different variations of a routine? We love Cedric's routine, but it's basically it's variations of the same old thing.
Speaking of Cedric, I noticed that Cedric hit almost every Arnold Schwarzenegger pose that's ever been posed to in his routine.
He went up and he touched the trophy, which was a Arnold statue, but it was turned the wrong way, so he actually posed in the oblique angle that the trophy was turned.
Well, when I saw him hit the side chest and then he did this, I said he's doing Arnold poses.
Yeah, all Arnold stuff. Well, Arnold was loving it, clapping in the it's just
Arnold's a very big fan of Cedric.
Yeah, he was clapping for everyone.
Cedric was very cocky out there. He was like patting guys' asses and showing off, pointing to when guys weren't in shape. Yeah, where did all this confidence come from?
I think he smelt blood when he saw that condition.
Oh, okay. So he felt good about himself.
Yeah.
Where does Cedric go from here? Does he do the Olympia?
I think he's going to. He's probably going to head up to Toronto, and he belongs on the Olympia stage because this is still not the best Cedric McMillan. I think the best is yet to come.
So he wants to get the win before the Olympia?
I get the win, so he doesn't want to get there, by, little points that you tabulate up on a calculator. And I think
he should have no problem winning in Toronto.
No, and I think he's a top call out, first call out of 5 or 6 guys at the Olympia. And I think he's dangerous in any lineup. you know, he's got a little Sean Rodenish going on,
Yeah,
which is,
we talked about that
you know,
with Sean earlier.
when you put me through the quarter turns and put me, you know, against anyone who you want to get me against, you know, he can come up ahead of a lot of people, just like Sean does.
Well, the name of the game tonight was Big Ramy, who sets history here. He wins the Arnold Classic Brazil, sets himself up as possibly the man to beat for the Olympia.
craziest
I've been
wrap-up of all
watching.
time.
We had a move earlier.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why. I love Brazil, but me and Cedric got into a cab today. This is a true story, and he comes out of a gated community every day to drive his cab. He used to live in Connecticut, and last week a guy with an Uzi stuck it at him. And
Really?
Yes, because he had to drive through a bad neighborhood.
Wow.
So when me and Cedric were coming from one hotel to the other, Cedric said, "We're not going through that neighborhood, are we?"
When Cedric's worried about neighborhoods coming from South Carolina, you know you're in big trouble.
So that's why I was keeping my eye on the bag, and sure enough, the Jan Tanner team was walking off with
well,
it.
at least they're respectable. The story of the day is, though, Big Ramy winning here in Brazil in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger himself, you know, establishing himself as possibly the man to beat come Olympia time. Phil Heath's got to be quaking in his boots because if Big Ramy comes in shape, Chris, it's all over. But for now, though, we are out of time here in Rio de Janeiro. I'm Dave Palumbo with Chris, the technician Aceto, for RxMuscle.com.